welcome everyone. Welcome to a new edition of Remixing Politics and Culture with me, your host, Pam. I am a public relations and marketing professional with a passion for social justice, voter advocacy, and culture. And tonight, we are going to be talking about the elephant in the room. Uh, what is that elephant? It is the blatant, outright, in your face, anti democratic, racist, and homophobic behavior that's going on in this nation. And it's from, we're going to talk about from Mississippi, Florida, Tennessee, and beyond. And the politicos that I have on the roundtable tonight, it's no telling what they want. They may bring up some other issues, and they're welcome to do so. These ladies are really very wise women joining us tonight. They are politicos from various states around the country. First up, I'm going to bring up Latrice Davis. Latrice is my ride or die. She's no stranger to the show. Latrice is a senior court clerk at Queens County Civil Court in Jamaica, New York. She is a former journalist with the Associated Press. She is an appointed member of Queens Community Board 6, serving on its Aging, Social Services, Disabilities Committee, and is the committee chairwoman. Latrice is up on the latest of all political news, and she's very opinionated, and we love it. Welcome back, Latrice.
As always, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And next we have Renee Schalk, and she is no stranger to the show at all. Renee, your picture just went out. She's not a stranger to the show at all. She was a strong Democratic contender for Texas Justice of the Peace position in the Austin, Texas area, Precinct 3. She didn't win. However, she gave a very strong performance and did so while managing triplets. Okay, try that. Renee has since relocated to her native New York and near family, and is studying to be a doula to help prevent motherless Black, Brown, and social economically disadvantaged children to be without their parents, their mom. She plans to get involved in New York politics by volunteering and lending her political expertise. If New York gets the DNC 2024 National Convention, she plans on becoming a delegate like she did in Texas. So, Latrice, you got a new neighbor. Renee's down. She's in your neck of the woods now.
Well, hello, Renee.
Okay. Renee, you can unmute yourself if you want. I know she's got the kids running around, so you can unmute yourself if you like. And last but certainly not least, we have Loretta Thomas Walker, who is retired. That's a good thing to be able to say. A retired logistics project manager for over 36 years for the Department of Defense in Warren, Michigan. Loretta had to do extensive worldwide travel to assure federal regulations and procedures were met. Her legacy as a leader are still taught today at her agency. She recently moved to North Carolina in the greater Charlotte area and is a servant leader and proud member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. And welcome, Soror.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, ladies. I'm gonna, there's just so much, right? There's so much going on. I want to first start off with Mississippi. Oh, Mississippi. Lord have mercy.
Or as Nina Simone once said, goddamn Mississippi.
Right. Absolutely right. And listen, if Yvette, let me see, I forgot Yvette's name. Yvette Thomas, if she's here, Yvette, I hope you see the link to the show in the comment section. At any rate, yeah, that's what Nina Simone said, and she's probably rolling over in her grave saying it again. So let's remind everybody. First thing we heard about Mississippi of late was the alleged millions of dollars that were taken from a poverty fund, and I assume they were federal dollars. They were given to a very prominent sports person who then used the money to build some type of edifice in honor of his daughter or something like that. I may have the story a little twisted.
No, you're heading in the right direction. Basically, Brett Favre took what was public money and used it to build a volleyball stadium at his daughter's school.
Okay, at his daughter's school. Okay. All right. So at any rate, that happened, but we haven't heard there was no apology. There was no acknowledgement. They kind of threw a woman under the bus because, she said, yeah, it happened. But it's like, whatever they do, it's like, so what, Ann? Deuces, what you going to do about it? It's that kind of attitude.
Well, I think what makes it even worse is, it was right. I thought somebody was going to be. No, listen, I think what makes it even worse is
also what made it.
Oh, wait. I think that there might be some timing thing that Renee's having. Go ahead, Latrice. And
okay. Now I'm just going to say, I think what makes it even worse is that even though what Brett Favre did was wrong, we as Black people, we have bigger problems. Namely, I think in this, if I remember correctly, and I hope I get it right, how they want to create a separate judicial system.
We're going to talk about
that. Okay, so I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so go ahead, ladies.
Got a whole graphic on that. Renee, what were you going to say?
What I was going to say was what was the really bad thing about it. Not only did he take PPP money, but he took money designated to welfare recipients for public assistance recipients, and he used that money to build the tennis court for the university that his daughter attended. And that to me was like the lowest of low. You take money from the needy and then you build yourself, your daughter, a tennis court at her university. He had the money. He could have done it with his own money, but he didn't.
Right. Exactly. Loretta, do you have any comment on that?
The worst part about that is that the university now gives acknowledgement to him, and throughout time while that stadium is built, he gets credit for that. And that's the part that infuriates me. He gets credit for something of other people's money, and he gets to use that for his daughter and whomever else comes under his name at that university.
But the very people who should have received that money, namely the poor people, they probably can't set foot in that arena. They won't have access to it because they're not students at that school. They can't afford to go.
Exactly.
So the irony of all that isn't lost on me. It's just, I guess, another day in America. If you sit and think about it long enough, it's another day in America.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm going to show you guys the very thing that this whole new thing that they're doing now. Now we're dealing with a literal apartheid situation in Jackson, Mississippi, and the Guardian publication did an excellent job. They did some research and they created a map where you can actually see how demographically Jackson has been split up by the state government. So I'm going to show you. Hold on, I'm going to share my screen. Hold on one second. Here it is. Okay, can you see the screen? Do you see the screen?
Yes, it's the Gmail.
Oh, do you see the Guardian article?
No, you need to click on the link.
Okay, I did, and I did click on it. You see it now? You see it now?
Mississippi graphics and facts.
Right, but you don't see the actual revealed Mississippi bill?
No.
Oh.
Latrice is right. You probably have to click on that link specifically inside.
I did. I did. That's what I don't know.
Okay. You know, I'm sure all of us are aware of that whole subject matter. I mean, I think somebody actually put something on TikTok and said Jim Crow laws all over again happening in Mississippi.
Right.
Quiet as kept. Yes, it is. This is a scary scenario, but this is not the first. To be honest with you, Mississippi, I want to do Mississippi, Florida connection because this is all going on together right now. Ron DeSantis is running for president in 2024.
Yep.
And if everybody is thinking that Donald Trump was dangerous, watch out. Ron DeSantis is dangerous. He, in fact, intends to implement everything that he has been speaking about for Florida. If he becomes president with that Magna crowd, because right now that okay, let me stop it. Let me just say this here. What's happening in Mississippi is just a micro, very small of what's getting ready to happen in this country. And the problem for me is that we need to make sure everybody in our communities, Black and brown communities, and even Asians, to be honest with you, we need to get everybody truly awake about what's getting ready to happen, because Donald Trump was just somebody who was illiterate, didn't know how to enact and make the things effective the way he wanted to. Ron DeSantis, on the other hand, is very much on point, very much has a logistic and a very good logical team behind him to make these things come to pass. And he's not going to do it all in one slump. He's going to do it piece by piece. And the question is, how are we going to stop it? Right. See the first act, because right now, what he's doing in Florida right now, he's trying to say that the whole thing about this whole curriculum, educational curriculum, has different things, and he's pulled stuff out. Just in these last 2 weeks, he's pulled stuff out to show some of the things that he's using for his basis of why he's doing stuff like that. Mississippi, they're just with all of the different politicians there. That's a red state. I'm not surprised about anything that they're doing in Mississippi. Who's surprised?
Nobody. But I'm so upset. I was trying to show you guys, because there is this excellent graphic. I'm going to try again.
I think we all saw that little naughty little TikTok you had with the girl cursing extensively.
No, that's something else. I didn't see that here. Do you see the map?
No. But while you're pulling up the map, I will basically co-sign what Loretta just said. Basically, Florida is a testing ground, and DeSantis is not going to stop at the Florida-Georgia border or the Florida-Alabama border. He's not going to stop there. He's assuming that he's successful in Florida, he's going to take what he's doing nationwide.
Yes.
And when you talk about everybody needs to, become woke, I feel like at this point, if you're not woke, you're going to get left behind. I often like to say on Twitter that when it comes to the train of progress, I see myself as the metaphor. The train is a metaphor. And when the train pulls into the station, you're either going to get on board or you're going to get left behind. I can't wait for you. With everything that has happened over the past 5-6 years and before, when Obama was in the White House, it's like you can't get away with being, willfully ignorant anymore. You can't. No. So it's like, I feel like at this stage, if you're not paying attention, the information is out there.
Right.
I've worked in journalism, and the industry is not without its flaws. And I've said that before as well. But the information is out there. It's like the onus is on you to seek it out. Like at this point, I can't hold your hand but so much on this. And in terms of our communities, when we were on Twitter last week, or maybe it might have been the other week, Pam, and I had said, when you was asking if the people should stay or go, I think they need to stay and fight. I can't fight that fight for them. I'm not down there. My oldest brother lives in Florida, and we have these conversations all the time. And it's like, listen, I can't vote. I love you. I want what's best for you, but I'm not down there. I cannot vote for governor. I can't vote for. Here it is. You have a moron for governor. You have even bigger morons for your senators.
Right.
Like make it make sense.
Right.
These people keep getting reelected.
Right.
Make it make sense.
I don't understand it either. And DeSantis is only 44. He's only 44, and his attack is constant on education.
That's when it starts.
Yeah, it does, and you know, there is an all-out war.
You guys can hear me, but what I'm saying is that the Satan is basically going to get his butt kicked by Trumpster. Trumpster's never going to let him be the nominee. He's going to basically Can you hear me?
Yes.
I heard you say the Satan.
Okay, great. So basically, yeah, the Satan. Yeah, what the Satan is basically, the Satan is going to get his butt kicked by Trumpster because Trumpster will never let him get the nomination. Trumpster will burn the GOP to the ground. He will scorch earth before he let that man get it. My concern is not the Satan, because once he gets on the big stage, I mean, Florida is one thing. You could gerrymander Florida like no tomorrow. And that's what he did. And that's why all his policies get passed. That's why he has the legislation that he has. But the difference is, on the national stage, this is not going to fly. And so I think Trumpster will burn the GOP down before he let the Satan get the nominee. I'm more concerned about somebody else who seems a little more reasonable, but got the same tactics, who will actually become the GOP nominee. And then I think that's going to be a battle. I'm not worried about the Satan. I'm not worried about Trumpster. Biden is going to beat both of them handily, whoever it is. I just don't think it's going to happen. That's my personal opinion.
I respectfully disagree with you, Renee, and I'm going to tell you why. Last night, former Vice President Mike Pence spoke out against Trump. He has no chance in hell of getting the nomination.
Right.
So I think, and I understand, you're right. Trump is the kind of person who will burn the party to the ground before, he lets somebody else win. But I don't see Pence rising. I don't see Nikki Haley getting the nod. I think right now, and I hate to say this, the Republican nomination for presidency next year is DeSantis to lose. I don't see Pence winning. I don't see Haley winning. Whomever else emerges, they don't really have that base right now. I mean, I think basically Nikki Haley is auditioning for the VP slot, even though she doesn't want to say that. Correct. I think that's basically what she's doing.
Correct.
And you can say the same for Tulsi Gabbard. Like
my only concern is.
Go ahead, Dawn.
My only concern is that maybe somebody we're missing. Is that we may be missing somebody we don't see right now that's in the corner, who is building their party, who's building their brand, who might be more acceptable to swing voters. We may not see that person, but we know who DeSatan is, and we know who Trumpster is, and we know who all the other cast of characters are. So I'm not worried about them. I'm concerned about a dark horse coming in here that is going to trick people once those people are out of the way, to convince them to make him or her the nominee. That's my concern. I like what we got out there now. Let them get nominated. I'm good with the Satan or Trumpster getting nominated. That helps the Democratic Party. Anybody else that seems reasonable, we are going to have a fight on our hands. That's my opinion.
We have a fight on our hands regardless, because what we've seen over the past couple of years is that even though the MAGA crowd is a vocal minority, they're larger than we thought they were. At least
I lost the streaming ladies. Okay. That's all I have to say.
No, I was just gonna say, I think the MAGA crowd, even though they're a vocal minority, I think they're larger than we expected. Just this afternoon, I went out to run an errand, and on 63rd Drive, which is a major thoroughfare in Rego Park, there was a guy wearing a sweatshirt, a hoodie, that it said "fuck Biden."
Oh, wow.
And I always say to people that New York is not the bastion of liberalism that some people like to think it is. In Queens, if you know where to look, there are conservatives. Right. And Trump's rise to power has emboldened them. They're not on the fringe like I thought they were. That was my mistake, because in the 2016 race, I considered Trump a dark horse. I'm like, he had no shot at winning the presidency, and look what happened. So I've learned not to underestimate the people out there. I agree with you on one thing, Renee. I do think there's a dark horse lurking.
Yes.
But I'm not going to sleep on DeSantis like I did Trump. Like a lot of people, I made the mistake of not taking him seriously until it was too late. And I don't want to see us do that again.
We can't
Yeah,
afford.
George Santos proved Queens right.
The shiny,
Do you have anything to say?
the shining light to this whole conversation is that now white women are becoming upset with Texas. I saw someone put in there Texas. They're becoming upset. They have 5 women right now, Caucasian, who are suing the governor over this whole abortion scenario. And so they came out and spoke against it. But as you all know, white women are fickle. Right now, they're angry about it because of what happened with that woman's pregnancy, those women's pregnancy and everything like that. But as soon as their men folks tell them it's an hour, even though this happened on your situation, that's only a few white women. Will they be able to go over there and get those Dixie chicks in Tennessee and in Alabama and in Georgia and get over there and tell them in Florida that, this is dangerous. You don't want these kind of guys with these attitudes. We can only hope that right now they can hold their anger to November 2024, but I don't see that happening completely. But right now they're angry. Prayerfully, quote, prayerfully, they will hold on to that anger and do something with it.
I want to share with you ladies some things that DeSantis has done in his attack.
DeSatan.
DeSatan. Okay, he was unsuccessful in trying to bar University of Florida faculty members from testifying in criminal court trials as expert witnesses for defense attorneys, which is so bizarre. He banned the teaching of an AP class in African studies because he thought that the instruction was essentially indoctrination. It is what he thought. Okay, now the latest attack from him is the new college that was established in 1964, and it was in its precepts of being founded, it said that it would discriminate against none. Okay, later they joined the Florida State University system in 1975. In his crosshairs, this dude is just a dictator, plain and simple. Those people are down there fighting for the rights because he announced back in January 6 gubernatorial appointments to their board of trustees. They only have a total of 13. So this dude, DeSatan, he is doing his thing, y'all. If you notice in the news cycle, every week
because he's building a national profile.
Correct.
He's building his name off the backs of people like us, people who are not white. That's that's what he's doing. And like I said, I mean, at this point, if you don't know, it means you're being willfully ignorant. There is no way you cannot see what's going on and not connect the dots. What you mentioned earlier about Roe versus Wade. Yes, I agree. White women have been fickle, but hopefully this has been the wake-up call that they needed to put to put boots to the ground like Black women have been doing for ages, forever. Because rest assured, it's just like with and it's probably not the best analogy, but it's the one that's in my head right now with Hitler and the Holocaust. Just like Hitler wasn't going to stop with Hitler wasn't going to stop with the Jews. He was going to work his way down to us. And likewise,
he already did some stuff to us. They just didn't put it out there in history. But it's out there in history. They done some things to us. Yes,
but not to the extent. But my thing is with Roe versus Wade, that affects women with the education system. Again, they're not going to stop with us. They're going to keep. Basically. When you hear "Make America Great Again," I always say, "Great for who?"
Yeah, exactly.
Great for who? Because it hasn't been great for me.
Right.
It hasn't been great for a lot of us. And the thing is, if you take it back to the old days when white men were running things, like Chris Rock said in his special last week, how can these guys when he made the joke about January 6th, it's like, well, he's right. How can these folks be mad and try to overthrow the government that they run?
Exactly.
They've been in charge for how many centuries?
Yeah.
And now they want to blame us. It's like, you want to come after us? You're the one running the show.
So here's what's up. And I think we need to get this message out to our brothers and our sisters. Here's what's up. Everybody keep forgetting about what happened with Norm Storman. When the guy told him right there at the dinner party, said, I wish we can go, when he saw a black waitress go past and said, I wish we can go back to the old days. And he laughed. They laughed about that because that's exactly what they want, to go back to those days. That's when they mean make America great again. It was great back then for them.
Right.
And not only just black people, they want their women back into a docile state as well. And so they want to get back to that state because that's the only time that they truly loved their lives and they had control and everything like that. And so if they can get that, because remember, with the Civil Rights Act, we had a whole lot of Italian women marching with us. So they want to get back to that point where they can eliminate the Jews from hanging with us, eliminate the women from hanging with us. They want to get all of that right now. They want to get that back to the state of what it was pre-civil rights.
Because isolation equals control. Isolation equals control.
Because white men, they don't have any other control, y'all. And I'm going to be nice here, and I'm not going to say what I want to say, but I think y'all know where I'm alluding to on that point. But the point is, that's what they're trying to get back to, making America great again, where they women can't tell them that I don't like what you're doing, I don't like this and that, and I'm going to go out and get my own money. They don't want that. They want women that are in the house waiting to give them a cigar and their slippers when they come in the door, and they're waiting for us to be the one to say, "Sir, Mr. Charlie, you know, I've already went out there and killed the horse for you, or killed the cow for you, and sir, the food is ready." That's what they want. And they wanted free labor.
But it's not happening. We're not going back.
We're not.
I can only speak for myself, but we're not going back. Like, I find it, like, I was thinking about how women weren't allowed to have bank accounts and credit cards in their own name until 1974. That's less than 50 years ago. Yes. I can't wrap my head around that. Because my parents, God bless their souls, my parents got married in 1970. So I'm like, wait, my mom needed my dad's permission to get I can't wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
So let me say this. Magna is a roll call or a running call to the white men. That's what that means, Magna. That tells them, get ready, get armed up, get ready. This is what we're going to do. And so it's been out there. They've already given them instructions. Don't think they don't have instructions. The people who don't have instructions, stand by. Do.
And what was yeah, right. Did you guys? Oh gosh, I meant to prepare this for the show and got distracted. The comic book guy, Dilbert, Scott Adams, out of the blue, made this blanket statement about Black people being like essentially terrorists and racists, and if I'm following my way of doing things, just don't be around them. Period. Remember, he said that. He said it.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
And to the point. And so what I say to that, it reminds me of like another clarion call. You know, it was a dog to the people, because when the beloved Emmanuel 9 in South Carolina were murdered in Mother Bethel AME Church in Charleston, when Dylan Ruth said that there was going to be a race war, I was like, what is this young kid talking about? What is he talking about? I just couldn't understand it. I couldn't comprehend what it was that he was talking about. And so now, as time has gone on, I see that, you know, here he's ruined his life because they've indoctrinated this very young person to, you know, to let's see, to trying to take this one out, to do this heinous act, and thinking that he's a hero, that he did it, and no remorse or anything. and he's really he's still an adolescent. And it just blows my mind that essentially what we're seeing is that same type of stuff. That's what the Dilbert guy was doing, as far as I'm concerned.
But here's the thing: what Dylan Roof did has happened in New York. Think about the shooting in Buffalo last May. Again, this isn't even a year.
Yeah.
And the shooter was an 18, 19-year-old who, like Roof, was indoctrinated with the nonsense, and he drank the Kool-Aid. But this isn't new. This has been going on for the longest time. With a lot of these shootings, it's no coincidence that most, if not all of these shooters are young white men.
Yeah.
It's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah, and you got an old white man that's doing a dog whistle, I guess, in order to tell the others, rise up. It just blows my mind, and how it's so disgusting. It's so discouraging, because all we want to do is live. Okay.
Yeah, we just want to be. We just want to be.
Yeah.
And I've always been of the mindset, and I've said this before: if you're living your life and doing your thing, you don't have time to hate. You just don't.
Right.
And so when I see these guys on TV or on the internet, on social media, I just think, you have that much free time on your hands? Like, seriously?
Right.
Like, I just want to be. If you don't like, okay, if Scott Adams doesn't like me, hey, fine. I'm gonna do me regardless. Just leave me alone. Just okay. You want to stay away from people? Okay, then stay in your lane over in Siberia or wherever you are. Don't come near me. Don't come in my space.
Right. Exactly.
So no one paid attention. Some did, but no one paid attention during the presidential election going on in 2020. When your boy when it was going on, when Donald Trump said, "Proud Boys, stand down, stand back."
Yeah.
No one paid attention to that. Everybody thought it was just a fluke what he was saying. But essentially what he's saying, our time is not now. Now we all see when the time was, January 6th.
January 6th, exactly.
No one noticed that. Make no mistake, there is still another war coming. And Donald Trump has his finger on the trigger, because those are the people who are following him. Because he's told them, I am your retribution. I am your voice. I will get things accomplished, what you want. That's the whole point, y'all. The question for us is, who do we have saying that for us to give us a key to say it's time for us to do our thing too? Because make no mistake, I'm with you. I'm with all of you here. You bring yourself up in my house or bother somebody of mine, you're gonna find out that was a mistake. I don't care who you are. But the point remains, though, we need to be having an agenda as well.
Yes.
But our agenda needs to be to stay alive right now. I mean, and by the way, this ain't just the only thing going on.
No.
There is a financial scenario going on that's even bigger than this.
Yep.
You saw
Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. That's right.
You saw what happened over the weekend. And make no mistake, I was watching this one woman say, well, yes, well, for people like me with 8 digits. I said, ooh.
She said what?
8 digits.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
so she's gonna be all right.
Yes, but she said, but she wants to get to her 8 digits. Because remember, they're talking about they have the money available up to $250K.
Correct. FDIC only insures up to $250,000.
$250K for people like her with 8 digits. That's still
she's out. She's gonna be she's out of luck.
Yes. Now other larger companies that are really in trouble because they have more than her 8 digits. Hers is only like 8 million or something like that. But the other companies that really have stuff going on with that bank is truly concerned. But if they're doing that in Silicon Valley to white folks, y'all, imagine what they're trying to do to us. So I'm telling everybody right now, watch your money very carefully for this year in 2024, because they're not playing. And here's the thing, Latrice, you said it, but you didn't say it all completely in the beginning. We need to be ready for everything that's getting ready to hit. Everything.
And we need to be organized, and we need to be strategic.
But here's the thing. Let me interject there. Okay, I was gonna ask y'all this. So y'all, we all old enough to remember the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, right?
Yes.
Okay. But why is it that every single case ends up being our boy Crump's case? Back in the day, some of those cases, those very civil rights type of cases, it would be funneled through the NAACP legal defense people with Miss Eiffel at the head of it and stuff.
Well,
And
she's not there anymore. She left.
did she?
Yes, she's not the LDF anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought she was.
Nah, she left.
She retired.
So who's there?
Oh,
well,
that I can't say.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with the NAACP as well as the United what is it? United Liberties, United Liberties, yes. Here's the problem right now. They have been hijacked, and that's the best term I can say right now. They are only taking cases that they believe that they are going to win. They are not attacking and targeting other cases. Benjamin Crump seems to be the lawyer who's going to be going after these certain situations. But the other cases that they're not taking, they won't take because they don't believe they can win those cases right now. That's really what's going on with them. I'm greatly concerned, as you are, about that too. But the problem is, to be honest with you, I don't even want them focusing on that. I want them focusing on the cases that will make sure they make an impact in our community, and forget our community, in this country. I'm not just saying for the Black and brown community, for this country, because if we don't get things changed and caught real quick, it's going to be a very precarious position that we're all going to be in.
Well, I think we're in a precarious position now.
Now, Loretta, we're in it now. We're in trouble.
No,
we're in a precarious.
Y'all ain't seen trouble yet.
It's on fire, to be honest. It really is on fire. And I, you know, being somebody that is just always so kind of Pollyannish, not so much anymore. Francis, you know, there's been a lot of little comments and stuff, and I hadn't been reading them because we were talking. So, and I know poor Renee has had a time with whatever device she's using. Francis says,
my streaming is bad.
It says, I think this is happening because the adults don't want to go to prison, so they are teaching their juvenile offspring to do the evil deeds.
Correct.
Okay.
She's absolutely correct. Correct.
I was going to actually comment on Francis before I got disconnected. Francis is exactly right. That's why they're attacking the school board. They're actually building an army. They're indoctrinating the children. They're feeding them propaganda so that they can grow up and be exactly like they want them to be, to do the things they want them to do, so the top 1% can control the rest of the 99%. That's what that's about. White children, brown children, I mean, they don't really care about Black and brown children, so we can die for all they care. But the white children, or the majority of the population, they need in the workforce to make them millions of dollars. It's just like any dystopian novel that you read. That's where they start. And I was telling someone, I think I was on the Eagle show, and one of the points I made is like, they're smart. They're strategic. They are going after our youth. That's what Hitler did. He made a youth army, and he indoctrinated youth.
She's correct.
No, but I agree with her. I agree with her.
Renee is saying, because here's the thing: no one has went after Tucker Carlson yet. I'm waiting patiently for Dominion to get that 1.6 billion. But I'm getting tired of this. Tucker Carlson already lied again on television, saying that January 6th was just a hoax. This is ridiculous. People are blatantly lying. And they're not being checked on this kind of stuff.
Right.
And so they're going to do this. And so it's no surprise, y'all. Look at how this is going on with AI. You saw what they're saying with that whole chat scenario and whatever. Thank you. Yeah. So now you get Google and information in the system lying. You got this guy on Fox blatantly lying, not just him, the whole Rupert Murdoch lying hugely. They had to bring the old dude in court and make him fess up and say this and that. And only because he doesn't want another billion coming out of his pocket. So they're blatantly lying, blatant. And nobody's concerned about this. And so the young white kids are believing the Kool-Aid that they're being fed. And so our thing is, what are we going to feed our young people? Because I mean, I can fight.
Yeah.
Can I fight all 30,000 of them?
No, and you shouldn't have to. I mean, the thing is, I think today's generation, today's kids, with their access to social media, this goes back to what I was saying before about willful ignorance. You can't say you don't know anymore. Like, you hear the euphemisms, disinformation, misinformation. No, just call it what it is, lies and propaganda. That's what these people in power are trying to feed us. And again, we're not going back. We can't go back. Knowledge is power. That was something I was told as a child all the time, and it is indeed power. The fact that I'm self-sufficient, I have a job, I have a bank account. I'm not dependent on a man to take care of me. Why would I want to go back to the way things were? How does that help me? It doesn't. And a lot of women have come to realize that on their own as well. That, hey, I don't want to be tied to a man, especially because again, isolation equals control. If he controls me financially, that makes it harder for me to leave. That's why you have a lot of domestic violence. It's not just physical, it's financial, it's emotional, it's verbal, it's about control. And it's like, again, the information's out there. You don't have to be a mathematician to know that 2 + 2 = 4.
Right.
Are you using the Satan's terms that he told a reporter last weekend? You notice what he said last weekend.
What did he say?
Oh God.
That a reporter was challenging him on several things. Oh, look at the little cutie. A reporter was challenging him on several things. And so he says it doesn't take, he said, everybody knows 2 + 2 = 4. And he was using that against the education and what they was trying to put out there in the books. There's a book that they was challenging in Florida about 2 male dogs or something having a baby or something like that. And he used that as his basis of why he's challenging all of the reading material in the libraries and everything. And they were able to buy that.
Book probably wasn't even in the freaking library to begin with. But
here's another thing I want to point out. If you've noticed over the past couple of years, they've been very focused on the gay community, and it's and you hear about them targeting drag queens. Right. That's their insecurity. They're projecting their insecurity. The lieutenant governor of Tennessee was recently caught liking this gay person's photos on Instagram, I think it was. But the thing is that, okay, as long as what happens in somebody else's bedroom is between 2 consenting adults, I don't care. I really don't. I'm too busy living my life, doing my thing to concern myself with what 2 strangers are doing in their bedrooms. As long as it's consensual and they're not hurting themselves or anyone else, I don't care. The fact that they are so hyper focused on drag queens and the trans community, again, they're telling on themselves.
Right, which I want to bring up. Tennessee's governor and Republican majority legislature has banned all treatments for youth who are transgender, and so when he did that, they have until March of 2024 to get weaned off of, if they're taking any type of medication for body dysmorphia and all that type of stuff. They have until March of 2024 to get weaned off of it if they live in the state of Tennessee. And here's my thing. What people do consensually, with the parents decide, what they decide as a family unit, what is, and with medical help, what is best for their child or children, that's their business. We're not getting into HIPAA law violations, trying to find out who's doing what or whatever. I mean, it's just ridiculous to me. It's no different than a woman's right to choose.
Correct.
What happened?
And that's why I said they're telling on themselves.
Yeah.
It's strategic, y'all. It is strategic.
Alicia says, often enough becomes the truth, and that is exactly the truth.
And that's straight out the Hitler playbook.
Yes.
Joseph Goebbels, Minister of Propaganda, is straight out the playbook. We've all seen this before. This is not just deja vu. We know where this leads. We know how this ends. So like I said, I think we as, or the Democratic Party needs to get organized and needs to get strategic.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Assuming that Biden runs for re-election next year, and I've always figured that he was going to run for a second term,
Right.
we got to start thinking about 2028.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Because assuming that Biden wins next year, we really need to start preparing for 2028 now.
Right.
Correct. So let me just say these two things about this whole thing against the LBG community. If they plan to separate y'all, it was the gays walking with Martin Luther King as well. They were there with the Jewish leaders, with the Catholic leaders, with the Italian women. So if they can separate them, well, now here's the catch. There's been some gays who have been now becoming Republican. And I'm not sure if they're trying to be the enemy in the camp or is it just because of a financial scenario, but they've been doing that too. They've been hanging tight with the Republican Party as well. So the question now for me is that, are you with us or are you against us? I'm going to do a George Bush. Are you with me or are you against me? Because we got to ask those questions, because you had that one black guy who was a football player, was married to his white husband. And he went to a party and he was the only black there. And they were very prejudiced against him. And everybody in the room was gay like him, but they were prejudiced against him. I never forgot that story.
I don't remember
Yes.
that story.
So my thing is, are you with us or are you against us? Are you trying to be our spy in the camp? Or are you really trying to hang over there because it's financial beneficial to you from a financial standpoint? I mean, you know, when I saw somebody like Nicki Minaj say she's a Republican, and I was like, you ill-informed little girl.
Yeah, I didn't know about that.
But that was years ago. You know,
years ago. She might have just did that to get on.
Well, I mean,
a lot of people do that silly stuff. But does it in the end, does it help us or hurt
No,
us?
it hurts us.
And so, yes, I'm with you, Latrice. If Biden, and he is going to run again, let's just keep it real. He's running again. My only thing is, I just hope that brother can stay in office 4 more years when he runs again. I need him to stay alive for 4 more years.
But that's why, like I said, we need to start thinking about 2028 now, because again, asking Biden to stay alive for another 5 years is a tall order. It's a lot to ask.
Yes,
I hope he does. I don't wish death on anybody. But at the same time, we have to be honest with ourselves. He's no spring chicken.
So they already know who our target guy is. You already know who our target guy is. He's right now the guy who's holding things down for the Democrat in Congress right now, Hakeem. That's our guy, and they are already taking attacks against him already. And so
I don't know if he has presidential aspirations.
Yeah.
Not right now.
I have not gotten that vibe from him based on the chatter I hear in New York. I think he's good where he is, because assuming that he becomes House Speaker of the House, that's a pretty powerful position. And he seems, and based on the things I've read, he's learned a lot from Nancy. He took notes.
Okay.
He took notes when she was in power.
Okay.
So
we're gonna wait and see who's right on this one. Also, watch homeboy out of California, Eric Swalwell.
Yeah, Eric.
Watch him, because
I like the governor of California.
Well, yeah, but he's had some bad things that happened last year that wasn't too popular for him. But
I'm gonna step in. I agree with you, Pam. I think it would be. I agree with you, Pam. If anybody's going to step in, it'll probably be Newsom from California. He's got a wide swath of followers. Hakeem problem is there's some New Yorkers don't even like him. There's some stories behind the scenes of things he's done, and so they keep it quiet because he's a Dem and he's a brother, and they don't want anybody to mess with it. But I don't know if Hakeem could run that nationally. But I think Newsom would, if Biden died tomorrow, Newsom would run.
Oh yes, absolutely. Newsom would run. I agree with that. I agree with you on that point, Renee. Absolutely. I think right now everyone is holding their fire out of respect for Biden. But if something were to happen to Biden, all bets are off.
Right. Let me ask you this. What are we going to do? So if Biden runs again, we're assuming that Kamala's coming with him. How do
you? I assume he's going to keep her on the ticket. It will be political suicide for him to switch, to take her off the ticket.
Right.
It would be political suicide. So I think he's gonna stick with her. She's gonna be on the ticket next year. The question is, what's going to happen to her come 2028?
Right. Well, here's one thing I'm thinking about too, guys, is that Kamala has taken so much heat for nothing. People are saying, well, what is she doing? What is she doing? I'm like, since when have anybody asked what the vice president is doing? Since when?
Well, for one thing, she's broken a lot of ties in the Senate. So there's the quick answer to that question.
There's that. What I'm saying is they act as if she's supposed to be commissioning bills and doing all this stuff like the president.
But she's not. And I've picked up on that as well. Like, you hear a lot of like the Biden-Harris administration. And listen, I get why they're pushing that, but Kamala's not the president. She's the vice president. When Trump was in office, you didn't hear the Trump-Pence administration. When Obama was in office, you didn't hear the Obama-Biden administration. It was, whoever the president was. Just let Kamala do what she has to do in the background. She doesn't have to be front and center. That's not her role. She is the vice president. Let her be vice president. And assuming that she runs in 2028, hopefully she would have built up her bona fides, and we'll see how it all pans out.
Don't you all remember how when Obama was president, when he was in first term in office, how everybody was like, no one wanted to kill Obama because they didn't want Joe to become president. Everybody was like, crazy Joe would do something insane. So that's how Obama was able to stay alive for the first 40 years, because everybody thought Joe Biden was crazy. Everybody, white people especially. So that was fun to watch that whole scenario. The same situation here with Joe Biden. They don't want Kamala to become president if anything should happen to that guy. So it's smart on Joe Biden to keep her there beside him, because that keeps him living longer and everything like that. And yes, in 2024, I don't know about Kamala in 2024. I really don't know, y'all. I never was a fan of hers from even the beginning when she was running for president. I was never a fan of hers then. So I can't say anything there. I'm sorry. I can't.
Yeah, I mean, you feel how you feel. My take on it, and I've said it before. Go ahead, Renee.
Renee.
Oh, okay. I was going to say Kamala is not going anywhere. She'll be his. Yes. Kamala will not go anywhere. She's going to be his VP for 2024. She's not going anywhere. However, I do not think she's going to run in 2028. She doesn't have enough national popularity, enough national people who vote for her. You see what they did to Hillary, and she was a white woman, and and white women voted against her. So can you imagine if Kamala tried to run? She can't bring all the white women, and she definitely ain't bringing no white men. They just not going to do it for her yet. We need a little more time on that one. I think Stacey Abrams, that's who I want. I want Stacey. But she's not going, or what's her name? Rice. But they're never gonna, I don't think they're gonna run yet. So
white men are more afraid
Susan Rice, yes.
What I want is for Stacey to take over Jamie's job of the DNC. I want her to be running the DNC. I want her to be the chair of the DNC, period. I want her to get the voting mobilization and the monies where it needs to go to push, because I declare that Sherry Beasley would have become the North Carolina senator had they put a little bit more money and sent Obama here to North Carolina, because the race was so tight. That would have made the difference.
Well, it's my understanding that Stacey's going to run for governor again in Georgia come 2026, because Brian Kemp is now term limited. So I don't see her running for president. I think she really has her heart set on being governor of Georgia. So as much as you may want to see her take over the DNC, I don't see that for her. Everything I've read up to this point, she's thinking the third time is going to be a charm for her because Kemp is term limited. So she's going to run for governor of Georgia again. She's not going to seek the presidency. And as far as what Renee said about Kamala, I agree. I've said this before. I don't want to see Harris fail. But realistically, if something would have happened to Brian, like let's say he got COVID, he had a heart attack, or God forbid he was assassinated, is Harris ready? I hope so. but I don't think she has the support, the base of support to be successful. The support just isn't there. Based on the things I've read, the support isn't there, because if it was, you wouldn't be reading all this backstabbing chatter and Politico and all these other websites. If Harris had the support and it was unified, you wouldn't hear all this chat about what she's doing. You would know.
Yeah.
Okay, so going forward, our plan of action is we're all supporting for 2028. We're supporting Newsom. We're supporting
Well, I mean,
Newsom.
who's running? That's the thing. I can't even tell you who's going to be running in 2028. That's why the Democrats need to get their act together now. They need to line up their players.
Some parties, some organizations are already pooling their monies towards certain people to run for office. For the one who just won in Virginia, there was a lot of black money that funded that scenario to stop all the shenanigans that was going on with that. So Newsom is probably, you're saying, the potential first runner-upper. So then who would be the second? Because he's going to need a vice president. And that's one thing. Our second plan of action is what is the next thing that's getting ready to happen in 2023, y'all? Because we're watching the banks collapse.
I think he would pick a black. I think he would pick a black man to run with him as VP.
In his interest, and Hispanics.
I don't know who yet.
The Hispanics are right now.
Oh, Hispanic. That's right. I'm sorry. You're correct.
They did not get their.
You're correct. Hispanic.
Yeah, they did not get their bid in 2020. They were very angry with Joe Biden about that. Very, very angry. Angry with the Democratic Party. My thing with Hispanics is shut up. A whole lot of y'all are going over to the Republican Party, and don't say you're not, because you are. So that's the real question about that too. Again, I'm always asking who's really with us. They say they with us up front sometimes, but they're really behind closed doors is doing something else. But again, I'm concerned about what's going to transpire in this year and the first 6 months of next year. I'm concerned greatly because if they're doing this with the interest rates, notice how the Feds have been quiet, you all, very quiet. They've been doing some sneaky stuff there. So I'm trying to figure out what's the next plan.
Well, they did. Well, they did today announce that the national whoever is in charge of banking is bailing them out. So there's that. They're not going to fold. They're going to make it sovereign.
Where's that money
take
coming
care of all
from?
that debt.
Well, they just explained it right before we started.
It's coming from where it always comes from. The U.S. has money. We all know that. The U.S. has money. It's just what they decide they're going to spend it on. Right. So it's going to come from where it always comes from. They got money.
They have money except for reparations. Okay.
Oh! You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
But here's
Francis is saying that a London bank has proposed to buy them. I'm assuming she means buy SVB. But you know what? London is having having serious economic.
I mean, Brexit, that's still unresolved. Are they really in a position to buy anything right now?
Right.
And if they are, okay, given that they have their own issues, they need to get their own house in order. Like, I'm not sure I want them coming across the pond. As much as I like, British culture, I visited London. It's a nice city, but you think New York is expensive. New York has nothing on London.
Has nothing on the streets of London. But here's my thing. So we're having this situation financially that's going on in the country, and we're still over there financing the situation over in Ukraine. We're still doing that. Yeah. They're thinking that we're asleep on that because eventually that stuff will come home to us, that whole situation with that.
If it hasn't already. I would say it has, in many ways it has already.
Correct. And there's going to be a financial situation in this country. And it's not only going to be just the financial, it's going to be the food banks and everything. And when you get people in a hunger state, strange things happen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's true. You said something there, ladies.
Definitely. Definitely. And speaking of hunger state, you know, the two Democrats, or at least one, our girl Yana, they did some proposal about the $1,000 to go to every newborn child or whatever, and someone said that that was an iteration of what was done in Europe. But my thing is, right now we're in a crisis. We have our food prices are so high, and the emergency food allotments that were given to people during COVID has ended.
Yep,
Okay,
it's over.
last month, so they're not going to get that extra check this month. Okay, so and yet groceries are sky high. So my thing is, okay, so why are y'all proposing to give $1,000 with the type of Congress that you have? Why don't you fixate yourselves on keeping that money coming for the people that are on food stamps and the emergency food allotments while groceries are so high? You know, make it make sense for me. Do stuff that makes sense. You know,
Pam,
yes,
as you know, elections have consequences.
Yes.
So those 5 seats that we lost in New York could have kept us the House.
Yep.
Those seats in Florida were gerrymandered, so it was a little tougher. But if we didn't lose all the seats that we lost in New York, we would have still had control of the House.
yeah.
So people didn't go out and vote. Texas, we could have flipped some seats too, but Texans don't vote, even though they have the largest Black population in any other state in the United States.
But don't they have the issue of gerrymandering there as well, though?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, but it is, but they just don't come out and vote. It's not even about they tried to vote and their votes were stolen. They just don't vote. Black folks in Texas don't vote. Poor folks in Texas don't vote. Some of Hispanics don't vote. I mean, it's in Texas. So that's what I'm saying. It's just that people just don't go out and vote, which is, you know, if everybody went out and vote, or I won't even say everybody, if we got 40% of everybody to go out and vote who is eligible to vote, we wouldn't have this kind of House. We wouldn't have this Senate. It's about turnout once again and getting people to the polls. And we all know this as Black women on this forum, that's what it's about. That's what they did back in the day. You know, they got people to the polls, they got people out, and they made their votes count. And they had to jump over a lot more hurdles than we do.
And that's the beauty of what Stacey Abrams did in Georgia. She mobilized. Again, she was strategic, and she had a long-term plan. It was because what she did in Georgia did not happen overnight. And she didn't do it by herself. She had help. But it was, I mean, the fact that she lost ground this time around, to me, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
The fact that she lost ground.
Latrice, you are correct that we should have Stacey Abrams. Whoever said it, I think it was Latrice or Pam, who said that we should have Stacey Abrams as to take over the DNC chair. I agree with that. Yeah. I think if we had Stacey Abrams running that, no disrespect to what's his name, Jamie, yeah, but Stacey would. They don't want Stacey in that seat.
Correct.
The GOP don't want her in that seat. Yeah. She will roll over them.
They need to be using Stacey right now as a consultant to be, while she's got that lull, to be getting the house in order. That's what needs to be happening. If
she may be behind the scenes. We just don't know it. You know what I'm saying? Like the governor of what's her name? She was a governor of Georgia. No, she was a mayor of Atlanta. What's her name?
Oh, Keisha Bottoms.
Yeah, she's with the White House now.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, and nobody saw that coming. She's like, I'm resigning my seat. Everybody's like, oh no, she's going. She went to the White House.
Yeah,
yes, she did.
Yeah, we knew about that. Yeah, they had announced it. Yeah.
So think about this, you ladies. If they can have a situation where people are not getting money and things are getting tight for them to eat and to feed, what would our young Black people do? Will they start doing strange things like the young white boys are doing? Would they start attacking Black people instead of attacking white people?
I'm gonna say no, and I'm gonna tell you why. First off, we don't have I think back to when I grew up in public housing back in the 80s. And, I was bullied when I was younger in junior high and high school. At no point did it ever cross my mind to get a gun and shoot up my school. For one thing, where was I going to get a gun from? A gun costs money. You know, in terms of my parents, my mom was a housewife. Dad was the only one who was working. And even now, and I've had this conversation with my brothers, I don't know how the hell my parents raised 4 of us on one salary. Like, I mean, talk about mind blowing. Like, because my dad was the only person who worked. So where was I going to get a gun? Where was I going to get the money? Where was I going to get the ammo? And not only that, I mean, again, the school to prison pipeline, I wanted no part of that. Like, growing up in public housing taught me a couple of things. One, it taught me the value of $1. 2, it taught me that whatever obstacles I would face in life, drugs were not the answer. So I knew the street life wasn't for me. Education was. That was something my parents instilled in me early on. Hit them books.
I'm going to say your parents instilled these things in you. Here is the problem that we're having in Black America, and we've talked about this on one of our culture shows that I did about our family structures or lack thereof. If you don't have that family, and if we've got people, sisters saying, well, I don't need a man and all this, and you're having kids and all this stuff. I mean, come on. You have got to have structure and discipline and respect and order, all of those things to raise children. And so the children just don't come here with instructions and stuff. Our responsibility as parents is to guide them, direct them, discipline them, all of those things. So if you don't have that, and mama's off doing her thing, and grandma's 36 and she's doing her thing, then the kids don't have that.
Well, speaking of 36-year-old speaking of 36-year-old grandma, I don't know if you saw in the news, but Congresswoman Boebert is going to become a grandmother. Yes. Her 17-year-old son is about to become a dad. Now, what I was going to say in regards to what Pam just said is that, and I've always said this, marriage and parenthood isn't for everyone. No. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Like, I knew at an early age, motherhood wasn't for me. If I get married, cool. If not, I'll be okay. But I knew early on in life I didn't want children. And I think a lot of people, men and women, they engage in what I like to call reckless procreation. Because when you get involved with someone, especially when you have a child, you have to sit down and ask yourself and be brutally honest. Do I see myself with this person a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Are we still going to be good, or is this just a here and now kind of thing? And a lot of young couples don't do that. Older ones as well. But that's why you have these broken families, because these people, they get together, they make a baby, and then when you sit and think about it, it's like, man, y'all had no business doing that.
Well,
so again, marriage and parenthood ain't for everybody.
That's why I brought this up, ladies. We have these young people now being raised by themselves, essentially. Mm-hmm. So these young people don't have an allegiance like we grew up having allegiance to our community. So what I am saying is that when it gets tight out there, and it's going to get tight, we already see the price of eggs. When it gets tight out there, what will they do? Will they come attack their own Black people who may have a few pennies in their pocket? Or will they band together like they did in the 70s and the 60s and become the Black Panthers that we need them to become today?
Well, I don't think they're going to attack. I don't see them attacking each other because, again, where does that get them? In prison. How does that help?
I don't think it gets them in prison. I think they're just going to, that's what the white man wants. Mm-hmm. He wants to divide and conquer. I'm trying to point y'all to the direction of how this is looking, y'all. They're hoping that certain scenarios put us in a situation where we fight amongst ourselves. Mm-hmm. That's what's getting ready to happen. And we need to start figuring out how can we communicate this to these young people. This is not the answer.
The way I see it, the kids are already fighting each other. They're already shooting each other. I mean, we know this. Every single day, there's some kind of shoot 'em up, bang, bang, person runs off, whatever. It's foolishness going on.
They don't watch the news. They don't read the newspapers. No. They don't do any of this. They only get information by hearsay. They don't check stuff to find and confirm stuff. They don't know. So imagine the young white kids who don't check the news, who listen to only Fox News, which is false information. So we're dealing with a scenario that's being thrown at them like this. And when they become angry and hungry, and it's going to happen based on everything that's happening in our global economy right now. It's all happening right now anyway. The question is...
But I just want to point out something real quick. I'm sure you're familiar with what happened in Alabama, where that former basketball player on the basketball team, he stands accused of shooting a 23-year-old woman because he tried to hit on her, and she rejected him because she has a boyfriend. She was with her man, in fact.
Right.
And now, like, why would you mess up your life over something that frivolous? And I know, even though I was born and raised in New York, I know in the South they don't play.
Correct.
This dude is 2021, and you threw your life away over that. They're looking to make an example of him already. And as far as his teammate who allegedly providing him with the gun, even though he may not have, he's yet to be charged with any crime. Okay, now he's jammed up. Because now, assuming that he goes pro, he may not, but best case scenario, he goes pro, that woman's family's going to sue him. Now, if he doesn't go pro, then what?
Correct.
It's like his life is messed up too.
This is the mindset that we're
and he wasn't even there.
This is the mindset that we're dealing with. We're asking them to become our soldiers. I can still fight, but we're asking this kind of mindset to become our soldiers because they got to fight against that mindset of those Dylan Roof type of kids. We've got to somehow find a way to reach these young people and tell them, look, set your mind on things better than this bull crap here, because you're buying the wrong Kool-Aid here. You're sucking on the wrong popsicle. This is the wrong thing here.
No, but I mentioned the Alabama situation because these young men have been exposed to higher education, and yet they still caught up in foolishness. So you may have changed the scenery, but if the mindset isn't changing, then that's the problem. Right. I mean, like I said, when I was growing up in the 80s, again, I saw what life on the street was like. I knew at an early age, whatever problems I would face, drugs weren't the answer. So I had enough sense to not get caught up in that. I also had support system, namely my parents. For me, when I was young, I wanted to be a journalist, so I was writing. That was my savior. That pen and paper kept me off the streets. It kept me from going down the wrong path. A lot of these kids today, they seem to think that, their only way out is being an athlete or an entertainer. I'm neither.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Make no mistake. We all got our backgrounds. I mean, I can tell you, I can sit and tell you about my growing up on the west side of Chicago when I was in high school. And make no mistake, that's how I know how to fight very well. Mm-hmm. And that is why I have several guns. But the point remains though, we got this mindset, whether they be education, partly educated or no education. We've got this mindset going on that they don't know what's being fed to them. They have no clue about what's going to happen down the road. We can see because we all grew up knowing what was going down the road. We grew up with disciplines. We grew up with disciplines. They don't grow up with disciplines. Mm-hmm. Again, we have a girl who's 36 years old as a grandmama. Well, she has no discipline yet. She has no clue what's going on that's going to come down the road as a grandmama. But she thinks she's ready. Mm-hmm. And she has no idea what's going on. We have the same scenario in our community. And our community is not paying attention like they need to. Our parents and grandparents paid attention to this stuff, and they had only 8th grade education, maybe 12. They paid attention because they had no choice but to. Correct. These young people are not paying attention. They're busy trying to get the quick dollar. Mm-hmm. If the quick dollar can be either selling something for $5 or $10 or $100, whatever, or trying to have some kind of skill set on the court or on the football field or something like that. That's the only thing they know. They have not been taught the morals that they need to be taught. Mm-hmm. And they don't even think about going to church or even talking to God. Mm-hmm. I won't even go with that conversation. I don't even have time to even go into that conversation. This, our young Black generation is selfish. They're actually thinking that they're, what's that, privilege? They think they're part of that bull crap. They actually think they can get the same kind of treatment as their counterparts are. And the bad thing is, I don't know how we're going to get to them. I talk to as many as I can and tell them, this is what's going down, pay attention.
Well, y'all, we have gone 14 minutes over our time but you know what? That's how it goes. And we'll have to do it again because there were so many other little nuggets I wanted to get out there and stuff, but we covered so much. And I tell you, it feels good to get it out, but we have got to, I don't know.
Have a plan. Have a plan.
Yeah, have a plan.
Get organized and get strategic.
Yeah,
Correct.
Organized and strategic. But listen, Alicia said, great conversation, ladies. Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's everybody wave goodbye and good night. Good night,
Good night. Stay safe.